talk to us about the details of this humanitarian mission, the cost, the logistics. How did it take place, given, as we know, it's very, very difficult for anyone to get access into the Gaza Strip?
Absolutely, Jumana. So good morning. This was during a trip, essentially, that we had early in July. This was my second trip to that region. And you could really tell that by the second trip, I think the span of those was 6 months, you could see that the humanitarian operation has been amplified by the UAE. So, we spoke to officials on the ground who estimated the cost of this mission by the UAE at around $700 million. Now that amount could have increased by the month, since the month that we've been there. But essentially, this includes the medical facilities, the warehouses, food, clothes, medical supplies. The UAE has over a dozen desalination plants that provide over 1 million gallons of water for the Gazan people. This is all based in El-Arish. But, there's also a makeshift hospital on a massive ship anchored by the Mediterranean Sea that hosts, Gazans that are in critical conditions, people that wait on that hospital to be, moved, relocated to the UAE or go back to Gaza once their condition has been stabilized. So we met a lot of these people. We saw the operation, and you could really tell that the UAE is using, these diplomatic relations that it started with Israel, these diplomatic relations, the existing ones that it has with Egypt, to sort of have this level or this magnitude of an operation on the Egyptian side, but also within Rafah in their field hospital.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned that UAE has these diplomatic relations with Israel. And of course, they're one of the few Arab countries that signed a normalization agreement with Israel, the Abraham Accords, back in 2020. How do all of these humanitarian efforts fit into the picture? How is the UAE trying to increase its influence in the region?
Right. So, when we mention the word soft power, the UAE really comes to the spotlight, right? So, one of the people that we spoke to for this story, LSE Stefan Hertog, was saying that part of the UAE's reasoning behind this massive humanitarian operation could be to, combat some of the, according to him, the flack that it's been getting by Arab countries and Arabs generally over normalization. But we know from our sources that the UAE stance on normalization has not changed since October 7th. And that's mainly because what the officials keep telling us is, the normalization deal has allowed the UAE to have dialogue with Israel. And we know that they've kept this dialogue open. Now, Rehman Hashemi told us for this story in a statement that the UAE would be willing to send boots to the ground once a ceasefire has been reached and once there's a reformed Palestinian Authority in charge. So that really brings together all these elements about what happens next. And I think all parties involved in this conflict, the ones that are talking, the ones that are directly involved, are really just waiting for what happens next to ceasefire talks, especially after the events of last week. As you know, Jumana, the killing of Ismail Haniyeh and Fuad Shukr in Lebanon. So those are all, the UAE, I think, is looking intently at the situation. It is waiting to see what happens. So that's the situation.